Hey guys, welcome to a new Delta Force video. Today I will be going over my settings in Season 1 of the game and also explain why I chose these settings and what effect they have. And we get right in with game settings and automatic airborne mantle. I would recommend to turn this on because it lets you mantle more reliably over objects and makes it easier to move from one object to another without falling down. Then there is scope magnification adapts automatically, and this is the same setting as ADS FOV in Battlefield if you're also playing this series. However, it only has an effect when you use a different FOV than the default 90, because what it does when turned on is that the game always uses the FOV you have set, no matter if aimed down sights or not, and when you aim down sights, your screen only zooms in by the magnification your optic actually has. With the option turned off, on the other hand, the game uses the default FOV of 90 when aiming down sights, plus the magnification of your optic, which results in a massive zoom in when you use an FOV higher than 90. And this massive difference in zoom can mess up your muscle memory, which is why I prefer to have this option turned on. Then you can select your hit effect color if you don't like the default one, and further down the list, the transparency of the spotting marker and whether you want to spot by pressing the middle mouse button or not. But down here I didn't make any changes at all because I think these settings are fine as they are. Moving on to keyboard and mouse, the sensitivities are completely personal preference, but I think what needs a bit of explanation is the ADS sensitivity type. So this is basically uniform soldier aiming from Battlefield, which means it dynamically adjusts your ADS sensitivity depending on the optic you use, but without the need of changing the sensitivity values for these optics separately. And I would recommend to keep it the way it is and also with the default coefficient if it does feel right for you. If you're not happy with how aiming feels, try to set the coefficient to 1.78 instead, at least if you're playing on a 16:9 monitor. If that still feels off or you want to set a separate value for a specific magnification, maybe for a sniper optic, use set sensitivity per zoom plus SDI, and then set your sensitivity for the specific magnification manually. If you're struggling to fly a helicopter, you might want to set invert aircraft vertical input to off, because I think by default it is on and it feels kind of strange. And an option I would not recommend to touch is turret locked while turning vehicle. This is luckily turned off by default, so you don't need to look for it, but what it does is that it determines whether your turret turns with the vehicle or not. With the option turned off, you can move vehicle and turret independent from each other, which is good because it gives you more control. And with the option turned on, the turret moves alongside of the vehicle, so you're permanently dragging it around, which is pretty annoying. So I would recommend to keep this off. Down below, you can also set the sensitivity for air and ground vehicles and for the gunner, and here you can also select the sensitivity type again, but here I'm using the default values for everything. Then at controls and combat, I've changed a few things. First of all, I've set crouch toggle to control and prone to C, because that's simply what I got used to in other games. Then lean and peek to toggle as well instead of hold, because this allows you to lean but still freely move around with the WASD keys, since you don't have to hold Q or E, and then aim of course to hold instead of toggle. On the screen and interaction, I would recommend to set rescue to toggle instead of hold as well, because then you only need to toggle the button when going for a revive instead of holding it until the full revive is done. Moving on to the screen, you can turn on the performance parameters. This will show your ping and FPS in the top right corner of the screen if these are settings you want to keep an eye on. Then we have a few settings for the minimap, and here I would recommend to turn on rotating perspective, because what it does is that your soldier icon is always in the same position, but the minimap rotates around you, so basically in the same way your screen does. And I always feel like it makes it easier to find your way around the map and to find the position of spotted enemies. And with the option turned off, like it is by default, the map will always show into the same direction, but your soldier icon is turning inside of it, and I always found this harder to navigate. What you can change as well is the minimap view distance for different situations, so when you are on foot or in a vehicle, so change these values if you want to see more or less of your surroundings on the minimap. And you can change the size of minimap icons like friendly or enemy soldiers or supply stations. If these icons icons appear too small for you, be sure to set a higher value here. On the next tab, we have the graphics settings, which is probably what most of you are here for. And the first thing I adjusted a little bit is the sharpness. Here I've set it to 55, so 5 points higher than the default value, but you can also set it to 60 or 65 depending on your monitor and also on your graphics card. For the FOV, I'm usually using something between 95 and 100. Remember, the higher the FOV, the more you see of your surroundings, but the smaller and further away enemies appear and the harder they might be to hit. And the lower the FOV, the closer enemies appear, but you have to turn a lot more to see what's going on around you. What I also forgot to mention earlier is that by default the FPS are limited to 120, so if you want more than that you need to set a higher value here. Just squeezing this in because I had forgotten this in the original recording. And then for the graphics settings, I'm on low for everything that is not really necessary, so reflections, ambient occlusion, particles and distortion, but I keep the texture filtering and the scene details and view at high or ultra, because I don't want any objects to not appear on distance, especially when I'm playing as a sniper. Then for the advanced graphics is pretty much the same, depth of field is off and everything that's not really necessary down to low. The shaders and shadow map is still on high, but mainly because I keep getting weird artifacts on the map when I set them too low. Then DLSS is unbalanced for me and NVIDIA Reflex is off. But NVIDIA Reflex only off because it still causes micro stutters for me when turned on. Might be different for you, you have to try that out. And lastly, there are the audio settings, and here I have HRTF set to on, which gives you more directional audio, so I would highly recommend to use this. It might make it easier for you to identify where certain sounds are coming from, especially helpful when we're talking about enemy footsteps. And if the music or announcer is annoying for you during a match, simply turn down music and voice volume. And if you don't want to talk to your squad or teammates, you can turn off voice chat down here. And that was it for today. I hope this video helps you to find the right settings for you in Delta Force, and if it does, be sure to drop a like and subscribe, and I'm gonna see you in the next one. I'm the Catwoman and you are awesome.